certainly did, and once again, you have to say it was on the back of their support player. SyncDream just not finding the engages that we're used to seeing, and in the end, the counter engage was too strong.
Yeah, and the MVP award actually going over to Shu here and immediately gets his Thresh banned away for it.
Yeah, he was catching people out left, right, and center at the end of that game. Thought that in the early stages, Drizzle did a good job with the Cataclysm, but from there it really was Shu getting the picks that were needed and Raphael exploding people on the Rift. And now this time, Gamtee banning Annie. I think that was Let Me saying, Xiaohu, never again.
Potentially, but it is an interesting ban. On the other side, Energy Pacemaker just sticking to what worked in the last game. They don't need to mix anything up. I mean, they're more than happy to take the same comp here, but Gamtee will see what they do now that they have the first pick ability. And they've already started mixing things up in the bans. And is Nah going to be at the same priority here for Gamtee as it was for Energy Pacemaker?
Yes, is the answer to that question. I think they get rid of Hecarim here. Just make sure that he's not available for Amazing J to be able to pick up and hope that they last ban Nah, or they will be able to first pick it.
And we'll see whether that does give Energy Pacemaker exactly what they want here as well. And Hecarim is going to be banned away. We'll see what comes through, whether Prophet Spawn is actually going to be able to be correct this time around. I mean, Energy Pacemaker, I mean, they have the opportunity for the early pickup of the Corki again if they want to. I mean, if that is what's going to be, I mean, if the Nah is going to be picked up here by Let Me.
Yeah, it certainly is a possibility, and I think that Gamtee would be happy with that trade. I don't really know. Ezreal wasn't impressive per se, but didn't really get dominated in the laning phase, and they do take away the Nah. So this means first pick Corki on the board for Tal if he wants to play it.
Yeah, potentially here, but the LeBlanc was available, and Xiaohu's going to lock it in immediately here. Maokai for Amazing J if he wants it. Of course, the Juggernaut does have an opportunity to come through, but Kane not going to go for it, and that's going to be an immediate lock-in of that Corki. Very, very smart stuff, and just that big tank in the top lane here as well for Energy Pacemaker, and nothing really given away in this comp.
Yeah, not much given away. A very similar lineup so far as we see Huey having another look at Lee Sin. Maokai and Nah very interchangeable. They fulfill a very similar role. Both big tanky people. They have lockdown CC, and Nah's Q is very underrated in when people are clumped in versions of CC just because of that short knockback as well as the slow. So I do like what Amazing J is doing here, and some disengage coming out of SyncDream this time around.
Yeah, going for a Janna pick. It is not necessarily the SyncDream style that we're used to, but Huey, last minute swap over to that Jarvan. Interesting pick here, and Raphael, it's the second time he's hovered a Malzahar. We'll see whether that's because he really just wants to play it, or whether he's just doing something new. He's playing with a few choices here as well, and Syndra might be what he decides to take into LeBlanc here. And we saw this yesterday, LGD versus EDG. Wayless didn't quite do as well as he would have hoped, but still did fine, I guess. Managed to pick up a few kills there onto the LeBlanc, but isn't going to be what they decide to go with, and Drizzle just going to lock away his very comfortable Lee Sin.
Yeah, so very comfortable on that Lee Sin. We see the Braum come through as well for Shu.
Yeah.
So the Braum Corki lane, a lot of damage can come out if they're able to pop that Braum passive. But on the other side of the Rift, throwback to the Sivir also being picked up here with the Janna. Janna Sivir lane, of course, pushes extremely well. Has a lot of mobility. Problem is they don't have a true tank on this lineup still.
Yeah, they don't. And SyncDream is actually hovering over the Morgana here as well, which would be an interesting pickup. They have locked it in. They've got Janna and Morgana, and this is probably going to be Let Me on the top lane Morg.
Yeah, it certainly looks to be that way. It's like a Juggernaut without the Lulu, and the Lulu pick was available and they just didn't go for it. So trying to go for a little bit of a protect the carry comp with two supports in the team, but not going to be, I guess, completely fulfilled. And we see Victor now, the hover for Raphael, taking a look at his pocket pick that now has become extremely popular.
Yeah, of course, Raphael sort of bringing it out, getting those 2 victories in a row, looking fantastic, and then everyone deciding that, yeah, Victor's really good. Let's everyone just play him. But they're hovering it for a while. Time has ran out, and that is going to be the Victor now picked up for Raphael.
Yeah, and so Victor versus LeBlanc, both very burst-heavy mages.
Yeah.
LeBlanc a lot more mobile, but Victor's AoE potential in fights is just huge. With that Death Ray, with the ultimate as well, the Chaos Storm that comes through, just does silly burst damage.
It does silly things, most definitely, Spawn, but is it going to be sort of LeBlanc having so much mobility that sort of stops his ability to use all his telegraphed abilities?
Yeah, so Victor also trades during the laning phase at least very well with the Q auto attack. The shield is very nice. And LeBlanc is, I guess, also a telegraph champion. It sounds strange, but she has to go one or two ways. Back to that portal that she came from in the distortion, or she has to stay on top of you. So if he's quick enough, he still can get some burst damage out.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, I guess that gravity field could work if you just pop it on where a distortion came from. And make sure that either you stop her from wanting to be anywhere near you, or she gets stunned. So that is definitely an option here, but we'll see how it plays out in the lane. As you can see, those two just there. And Gamtee, again, with this sort of makeshift Juggernaut type style, now with a black shield as well as Sync Dream with his shields as well. We'll see whether that's going to be enough here to make this Cogmore huge enough.
Yeah, so they are looking to, I guess, with a couple of members, run the Protector Cog comp. Definitely doesn't look like a full-blown Protector AD carry composition coming through, but they do have a similar feeling about them in the fact that they're sending a very supportive champion into the top lane.
Yeah, well, of course. And does this mean that Letme's in a little bit of trouble now as well? I mean, Morgana doesn't really do all that much apart from clear out waves. And is Amazing J just going to get huge?
Yeah, well, Amazing J has a very good lane because I spoke about the Maokai versus Morgana matchup in private to you, Atlas, and said that Morgana's Maokai's based attack is what actually wins him the lane. You can double W in and just do a lot of damage.
Yeah, well, we'll see whether he's going to be bringing attack as we hop onto the Rift. And here we are. Welcome back to the Rift, ladies and gentlemen, as Gamtee try and answer back to Energy Pacemaker. Already some deep invades coming through from both sides, trying to make sure that they know exactly where everyone is. Raphael taking a little bit of poke damage from something already, but you can see definitely know exactly what's going on. And we'll see whether they go for another lane swap.
Yeah, so potential of the lane swap coming through. Cogmore actually does fantastically against Corki in lane.
Interesting.
One of the better matchups. Both go the Triforce route. Corki makes more of the Trinity Force pickup, but Cogmore has a very good activate W for free and just get a free auto attack off, and it becomes very hard to deal with once the Sheen Phage pickup comes through because he just runs extremely quick. It's very hard for him to be kited, and Corki struggles to disengage without using the Valkyrie.
And the Phosphorus Bomb, of course, will be a little bit less easier to land as well when you've got Cogmore rocketing around with that Rage passive from the Phage.
Yeah, so looks like it will maybe even be standard lanes, although the support player, Shu, is in the top lane now that the minions are all the way up there. And this looks like Cogmore might get an early push.
Yeah, actually, I think they were assuming that the lane swap was going to be opted in for here from Gamtee, but didn't actually come through, and Shu sort of caught with his pants down just a little bit. Is going to be heading back towards this bottom side, and does mean that Letme gets some free time there in that top lane.
And the early top lane came, the early invade came through actually in regards to the Jarvan, so he was able to pick up a buff, and that's great news coming through for Gamtee.
Yeah, teleport now to come through from Amazing J into that top side, and he's going to be more than fine. Tail trading a little bit here with this Corki, but doesn't want to get that passive procced as you were talking about, as Sync Dream just going to shield himself up and just try and get some auto harass down onto this melee Braum. Raphael, you were talking about able to trade relatively well. Has been losing a fair bit of health, but you can see Xiaohu as well answered for his harassment. We'll just see how this lane pans out, because I'm just very interested just to see Victor in matchups all across the board, because we just haven't seen enough of him.
Yeah, Victor, definitely one of the new champions that's coming through and is doing fantastic things on the Rift. As we see Amazing J just pushing out this wave freely, but Letme also picking up a lot of CS.
Yeah, not doing too bad at all, of course. Made it to that lane a little bit earlier on, so he's not going to be too worried. Jarvan forced to go back as Huey fallen very, very low. So that is going to be fine. And Tail now just continuing to farm as normal. And so far, not too much funny business this game.
No, so Tail is just looking to harass under turret with the superior range coming through. And as you can see already, Corki's starting to struggle. Braum, not a fantastic support for bottom lane 2v2s. just doesn't add much to the lane particularly. Is very good late game with all the added resist he gives and the disengage and engage potential out of his ultimate. Not to mention that big shield that he can put up as well to stop a lot of the CC coming through. But in lane, melee support does get poked out a little bit. And, ooh, first gank.
Yeah, Chain's actually landing here as well as Raphael forced to use that flash to get out of the way of the Dark Binding. Meanwhile, Drizzle has discovered Huey hanging around this jungle.
Yeah, so Let Me just packed up shop top lane and roamed mid, forced the flash, and Victor, very immobile carry, needs all of his escape abilities to be able to, I guess, survive this laning phase, and didn't elect to go back, has stuck with the wave, but that's going to be a repeat visit, you feel, from the J4.
Yeah, and sort of Victor just doesn't have a lot of mobility as it is. Needs to upgrade that Q in order to have any movement speed at all on top of what he has already. Not having the displacement abilities like Xiaohu does. Really sort of going to hurt him moving forward. But Amazing J continuing to put the pressure on here in this top side. Now has a level advantage, of course, due to Let Me moving down towards that bottom side. Xiaohu continuing to push the wave. And this is something that, until Victor has augmented, that Death Ray, doesn't have a whole lot of wave clear either.
No, so he definitely maxes it first, so he can get a little bit of a shove going in response. He's CSing very well. More of the problem here is that they're just returning visits here, and he might actually even be ganked in the mid lane.
Yeah, there's the knock-up as well. Gravity Field going to stop them here as Huey taking a lot of damage. The Ignite's ticking down, though, and Xiaohu easily picks up first blood.
Yeah, so he burns another summoner spell in the exhaust as well, and it still wasn't enough. Xiaohu picks that one up. A very good Gravity Field, but in the end, the result is what speaks, and that's an 800 gold lead over to Gamtee. They're winning the mid lane. They're winning the bottom lane. Only really top, and that's going equal. Amazing J not able to bully on the Maokai, as you maybe should be able to in the early levels. And Drizzle, he needs to get a little bit more active on this Lee Sin.
Yeah, he's been farming out a lot, but you're right. He just hasn't had the same presence. And despite this Jarvan being a little bit nerfed, Huey's doing a lot of great things on it.
Yeah, it certainly does look like he's in a lot of control over the map, and particularly Let Me's roam is what really utilized the early part of this game, and this is where Maokai is better than Morgana. Look how much auto attack harass you get down in this lane. Throw the fact in there that Maokai gets back mana, gets back life whenever he on his passive, so you can just spam a couple of those Qs out, max that one up first in this particular lane matchup, and do a lot of damage there with the Maokai auto attacks.
Yeah, it really seems to be working out so far. Let Me was actually forced to use that teleport to get back to lane as well. It does have an extra Doran's Ring, some added tankiness, and the extra cooldown reduction of that Phoenix Codex as well. Dark Binding going to find Amazing J, but only a few auto attacks to come through from Morgana. It's interesting because as far as these matchups are concerned, these are both of the champions as far as ranged and melee that have the highest based attack damage.
Yeah, exactly right. Up in that top lane, and we see Huey having a little bit of a scuffle with Shu there, and Xiaohu going extremely aggressive.
There's the Mimic Distortion to come through. Does manage to get the chains to land as well, but then backs away. Of course, knows that he doesn't quite have the follow-up damage, but that is a lot of harassment onto Raphael.
Yeah, and we see Sync Dream now zoning out around this Dragon area, trying to buy even more time for Kog one-on-one. And with that Sheen pickup, you can see exactly what we're talking about. He can just auto-attack Kane with that W on and chunks him out of health very quickly.
Yeah, Let Me able to walk away from that Arcane Smash here as well. And Tail, he's had a fine time in this lane. 9 CS in the lead now as well. And look, things going great here for Gamtee so far.
Yeah, and it's crazy. One of the hardest scaling carries in the game beats out in lane the Corki matchup. It's just really is the evolution of League of Legends that you see. And this is why we saw Trinity Force Kog'Maw become so popular across League of Legends.
Yeah, Black Shield is going to be broken here by Amazing J. Does take a Dark Binding there as well, but Let Me does have to be a little bit careful, as you mentioned. Amazing J able to sort of punch him a whole lot.
Yeah, but that window is closing now. The more, I guess, levels behind Morgana, the easier she's able to clear out the wave. Doesn't have to stick around for that long, and there's always the danger that you W in, and then there's a jungler there with all the CC that Morgana adds in close range.
Oh, there's another Mimic Distortion come through. Gravity Field not going to be quite enough here as Raphael does secure his own life as Drizzle tries to take away this ward, but Fenghui protecting it valiantly.
Yeah, and with the mid lane pushing, it's just impossible for Drizzle to be able to get in there. Nice response in getting down to the lane that he needed to be in, but overall the results are the same. Raphael still being forced underneath his turret and being completely ineffective at the start of this game, being bullied by Xiaohu.
Yeah, speaking of being forced onto the turret as well, Kane just taking living artillery after living artillery, forced to go back. Oh, actually does cancel that one, but he's at half health, and Tails just having his way with this lane.
Yeah, he certainly is, and you think about how the lane is. Living artillery goes over everything.
Yeah.
Is a skill shot, yes, but so is Rocket. So the poke damage out of Kog'Maw still very good. And then with the one auto attack, it's not the phosphorus bomb, but it's that percentage magic damage that comes through from the W with the increased range. And that's really what gives Kog'Maw the advantage. And his objective control over neutral is very good because of that. They will back away from this one, but you can see they're trying to utilize this Cog pick to force early.
Yeah, Shu actually tanking up that dragon just a little bit as Drizzle's coming around here as well as just taken half of his health for almost no reason as the living artillery is now flowing through from Tail. That Voidoo's going to stop Energy Pacemaker from coming around, and that's an easy free dragon for Gamtee.
Yeah, but they are losing a lot of CS in the top lane. You saw that Morgana actually walked the whole map with no teleport available to try and get down there, and will miss out on 2 full waves, actually sticking around for a gank in the mid.
You're going to try and go into Raphael there, but you can see doesn't quite manage to land that Dark Binding. There's a Phosphorus Bomb to come through here as well here in the bottom lane as Tail taking a lot of damage. It looks like Raphael survived, and it is going to be Let Me just getting back to that top side. Amazing J continuing to punch this turret. Yeah,
gets himself a 10 CS advantage off that one. A little bit of an experience advantage as well. Although Let Me is currently level 8 also. And overall, scaling-wise, you have to really, it is the top lane versus the bottom lane in this one. Amazing J will scale on Maokai extremely well. However, Kog'Maw probably the best scaling champion in the game. When it gets to 3-4 items, just becomes an absolute powerhouse, and we'll be able to shred through the whole lineup, let alone a very squishy Victor. Victor is not known for being the tankiest mid laner going around. So
he's in fact known for being incredibly fragile, I believe.
Thank you for pointing that out. And I just think that during the late game, if Maokai is able to get ahead of the Kog'Maw, really upset him, get in his face, and make sure that Kog'Maw has to hit the Maokai, then NNU Pacemaker probably in the driver's seat at this point. But if that Kog'Maw continues to scale the way he is, continues to have this free lane with no one really getting down there, he's picked up the 2 most crucial points of his Trinity Force now, they might be in some danger, Energy Pacemaker.
They might. We'll see whether they can gather this by better vision. Of course, they did have fantastic vision control in the last game, and see whether they're just going to play this game out intelligently, and that's how they're going to win this one. But you're right, it is interesting when it comes down to sort of this tank scaling incredibly well versus the AD carry, because normally you're talking about the amount of damage you can do, but it's more about the amount of damage that Amazing J can soak, as there's actually the Glacial Fissure there in the bottom lane. Sync Dream gets very, very slow, but doesn't get stunned up by the passive. That's the most important part, and Energy Pacemaker have to back away, and I think that they could have almost gone more aggressive there.
Yeah, no, couldn't overcommit because the teleport's available on Maokai, and they were in a position where they had minions in between themselves and their AD carry. So what would have happened if they overcommitted? Maokai just teleports, cuts off Kane's path into that fight, and then all of a sudden, Kog'Maw as well as Janna are sitting there beating on the jungler, who is very squishy at this point in the game, only has a sight stone. So they chose to not really hard engage that one and go in with, I guess, all the follow-up CC that could have come through. And in the end, it means that this minion wave in the bottom lane still being shoved in, and look at all the poke damage.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. Sync Dream with some fantastic shield timings here as well to make sure the Tail doesn't take anything, and that's half health on both of these bottom lane members of Energy Pacemaker. It's getting difficult here for Kane and Shu.
Yeah, and they're just being repetitively shoved in, repetitively harassed under turret, and it's a frustrating way to play the lane. Kane finally getting some harass out with that big one now that Sync Dream has gone for a bit of a wander, but Tail having a much better showing on Kog'Maw this time around.
Yeah, no, I guess it might be to do with the fact that, you know, Shu just wants to wait until relevance, but so far not working out too well. Nice Black Shield here from Let Me just to help him survive against Amazing J, but he can deal with this wave, no problem.
And Huey actually going for an invade here. He's been spotted out, needs to be careful.
Yeah, speaking of which, there's action all across this map. Huey does pick up the red buff. There's the flag and drag to get himself to safety, and No worries at all. Just say thank you and leave.
Fantastic invade coming through, still exerting pressure throughout the map as Huey. He's got the upgraded jungle item, didn't go for the Sightstone, and when you do go Sightstone, you expect to be able to secure at least your own jungle, because that's what the investment is. You get vision of the other jungler. You're supposed to be looking for deep wards, but with the superior skirmishing power, just not able to go toe-to-toe with the J4, and J4 walking away with the jungle camps.
Yep, no worries there at all. And it's the fact that he's just juggling it really well. He knows that, yes, I've got the combat advantage at this stage, and knows that he can push that advantage.
Yeah, so a little bit up on CS as well, coming in there, 54 to 45. So he's got a 10 CS advantage. Does mean about 500 gold at this point in the game as well, because of how strong the jungle camps are. And we see in the bottom lane, Kane shoved completely out. Tail doing work on this turret, nearly going to be able to take it down.
Yep, dominating that turret now, as well as Arcane Barrage does wear off. Raphael going to be able to take down this blue buff here as well. You can see no turrets have quite fallen yet. But as far as this mid game is concerned, is this where Energy Pacemaker can make some moves, or is it just getting very, very difficult? Soul Shackle's actually broken here in the top lane. Is Amazing J going to get stunned up there just a little bit? Oh, Minion gets in the way of the Dark Binding. Xiaohu looks to try and go aggressive, but only will get a flash. That is definitely still good, though. An outer turret in the bottom lane going to fall at the same time.
Yeah, so they're getting pressure in two lanes at once. Very high pressure being exerted in the bottom side of the map. Then get the roam and burn the flash of Amazing J in the same sentence. So very nice play coming out of Gamtee, pressuring the whole map. And Xiaohu now coming back into the mid lane, takes half of his health from the burst of Victor.
Yeah, does manage to land the chains here as well as Gravity Field comes through. Drizzle looking for something around the side. Does land a Sonic Wave onto Huey, who's going to flash out of the way. Glacial Fisher coming down just for funsies, as Shu was hanging around, but not going to find too much, and Chaos Storm just going to hang out.
Yeah, Chaos Storm just grabbing a couple of CS for himself, and we saw that Victor this time trying to bait people in, but not able to do so. They do get some vision control, but 15 seconds until the Dragon. That's two very long cooldowns coming through. Raphael and Shu's ultimate, and both very good zone control abilities. Being able to drop them on top of each other is imperative to how Energy Pacemaker want to play these team fights, so probably need to wait for them to come back up before they take a look at this Dragon.
It is available, of course. Vision still in the hands of Energy Pacemaker around this Dragon Pit if they do want to force something, but Let Me does have the teleport available. Soul Shackle's going to be up very, very soon, and Gamtee looking like they're trying to set up some sort of gank situation as Energy Pacemaker make their way down. They do have the Scuttle Crab, and Shu, he might get caught. There's the knock-up to come through, and look at the burst damage. Tail, such quick work now that he's got that Trinity Force, and seamlessly transition to a Dragon.
Yeah, and Tail is just doing so well in this matchup. Was able to shove in the Corki, got the turret early, now gets himself a kill, and needs to be careful because Tail's not done. Also picks up the Dragon now.
Yeah, Xiaohu actually does land the chain here onto Raphael yet again. But he is going to be fine. Does have that Negatron Cloak just to help him out. Of course, Negatron Cloak's on both of these mid laners. Oh, Sonic Wave going to be thrown out there and landed here. Xiaohu actually heading back round again. Gravity Field going to stop Tail from moving around anymore, but is going to be okay. Xiaohu, that was a very aggressive return to the distortion.
Yeah, it certainly was. And we see the wave clear coming out of Victor now that augment did come through in the dive.
Yeah, that was a huge Mimic Distortion, but of course Xiaohu just goes back to his W and he's going to be fine.
So in the top lane, Maokai has been able to pick up the turret. So equalizing that objective in a very close game once again from Gamtee and Energy Pacemaker. Neither team really willing to give up an advantage so far, even sacrificing farm on their carries to be able to siege down this mid turret.
Yeah, out of turret, he's going to fall down, but Drizzle just takes so much damage. Lemmy gets the most beautiful Soul Shackles. Raphael, you're dead. Double kill now for Tail. Living Artillery picks up the triple. Could it be the Quadra for Tail? It is. Amazing J comes down, and we'll see whether this Cogmore can get over to try and pick up the pentakill, but I think it's going to be too long as Xiaohu even manages to escape the tree.
And a 5-0-0 Cogmore. What a nightmare for Energy Pacemaker. They're not going to be able to stop this guy. Will go back with 3,000 gold after this shove up mid lane and is just an absolute monster at only 18 minutes in.
That is ridiculous. I thought he was just a pretty butterfly, but yeah, you're right. An absolute monster at this stage of the game. We'll see what he decides to pick up, whether this is going to mean he's going to go for an Infinity Edge early on because he's got so much extra money, or whether it's going to be, you know, the Blade of the Ruined King, the other options here that Cogmore does have. But This is a dream come true here for Tail.
Yeah, so able to pick up the Cutlass, a dagger, finish off the boots. Actually gets another dagger as well.
That's a lot of money spent.
This is going to be a 2-item Cogmore by 22 minutes, and Cogmore's item build is not cheap.
No, most definitely not. If he builds an Infinity Edge after that, I think he has almost the top 3 most expensive items. It's just a little bit insane. Sync Dream heading up here, does find Raphael there just a little bit. The shooter's going to clear out some minions here on the side. Sync Dream going to do the same. And Sync Dream, I mean, hasn't looked all that impressive on these disengaged supports, has generally looked better on engage, but last game, having a very strange performance, and this game actually on Janna looking pretty good.
Yeah, it certainly looked fantastic during the laning phase, particularly with the shields being able to come through. Let Me as well on Morgana has been very surprising, playing the champion well, and that Soul Shackles in the last fight, whilst Cogmore was able to pick up all the kills, it really was the Soul Shackles coming through onto 4 members that set it up, and really nice play across the board for Gamtee, making sure that they're dictating the pace of the game and not giving Energy Pacemaker any time to catch up in this mid-game scaling composition. And now, Soul Shroud's being picked up by Amazing J, but against a 2-item Cogmore, it's not going to do anything.
Yeah, well, exactly. And he had to build the Spectre's Cowl here as well because there's double AP coming through from Gamtee. There's a lot of mixed damage, and Cogmore actually does a lot of mixed damage as well. It's almost like everyone has to be focusing magic resist, and then Cogmore will have an Infinity Edge and destroy everyone. Yeah,
so the idea is that they need to get Amazing J onto the Cogmore and blow him up with the Victor, and from there they can deal. Wow.
Yeah, speaking of Amazing J needing to get onto people, he almost had the whole team of Gamtee right on top of himself.
And this is why the Flash is such an important cooldown. No engage coming through because it's a Braum, and he doesn't, of course, build that talisman. Amazing J hasn't gone for the very early Righteous Glory, so he has no way to get on the back. So really, Flash is his only tool to be able to lock down Tail, and every single time it is off cooldown, they gank him and burn it straight away.
Yeah, well, it's exactly right, and they're able to force it out so well every single time. Let Me still hanging out in this bottom side. Gamtee now just going to be milling about here on the top side of the map as well, and it's looking a little bit like Gamtee are in firm control thus far.
Yeah, it certainly is looking like they have complete control. You can see they even managed to siege down the top turret. Now a 6,000 gold advantage for Gamtee, and Energy Pacemaker really haven't looked themselves in this game too.
Yeah, and that's coming off a victory as well. Looking great in the first series, just seem to have been, I don't know, I guess stymied a little bit as far as Champ Select went, because this Cogmore pick has been working out so incredibly well for Tail. Now has a Blade of the Ruin King going towards that QSS, you have to think, very, very soon. Amazing J not going to be able to lock him down quite as well after that one comes through. And look at their vision on this top side of the map. I mean, the Baron is definitely an option now for Gamtee.
Yeah, Baron is an option. They're able to get to the point where, because they're that far ahead on their Cogmore, they don't have to go for a third offensive item. He's a full Blade of the Ruin King versus longswords up.
It's ridiculous.
So he now, even though it's a defensive item, which you think Cogmore very good with 3 items, it's a luxury item. He's at the point where he's that rich, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, there's the Glacial Fissure, though, to land onto Tail here. Sonic Wave lands as well. Resonating Strike to come through. Nice Monsoon from Sync Dream to save the Cogmore from the kick. And Energy Pacemaker going to have to back away. But that was looking dangerous. That was almost as well as it could have gone for Energy Pacemaker until Sync Dream.
Yeah, and then Shu nearly fell down, and we see a little bit of a disengage. Morgana going to go into that bottom lane, push that one out, try and get some more turret pressure. That's the last outer turret up, and Cogmore, for all of his weaknesses of being immobile, for not being great early game in a couple of lane advantages, they've covered them all very well, and now it's at the point where he shines. He's got all those points in the Bio Arcane Barrage. He's able to siege up the turret. He is literally a siege tank at the back of these fights that they cannot get to.
They can't. Amazing J is going to get cataclysmed here by Huey. And look at Xiaohu's damage. Twisted Advance just to get him out of here. Chaos Storm, though, onto Xiaohu. He's going to die. Amazing J turning around. The Soul Shackles stunning up 3 members. A double knock up here as well. Sync Dream picks himself up a kill. There is no Cogmore in this fight thus far. He's actually going to fall down. Shu's going to die as well, as Kane and Drizzle managed to take care of the big Cog. But in the end, 3 for 2. Could have gone worse for Energy Pacemaker.
Certainly could have gone worse, but they had to commit 2 people to the Cogmore, which just left them outnumbered on the other side of the fight. Really couldn't take it. Fantastic engage coming through from Huey, flying across the map, as only Jarvan can, and they'll pick themselves up another dragon. 23 minutes into the game, that will be number 3.
Yeah, number 3 for Gamtee. Unanswered dragons here as well to come through against Drizzle, who's been fantastic at stealing away, locking down the dragons. Had so much dragon control in the last game, but just hasn't been the same situation here, as Gamtee have just been firmly in control of the map. And now it looks like it's going to be a little bit of a clear out of the top side of the map here for Xiaohu. But he's been split pushing and then always in exactly the right spot to get beautiful Soul Shackles this game.
Yeah, once again, with 2 people flashing over the wall, he had his smorgasbord to pick. A 3-person fully channeled Soul Shackles fighting in the jungle against a Morgana. Never a good idea, especially with a Cataclysm. And now Energy Pacemaker looking for some picks, but a great Scrying Orb spots him out.
Yep, not going to be able to find it this time. Of course, the Scuttle Crab going to fall down on the Baron side, which is going to be very useful for Energy Pacemaker. Of course, you can't get rid of that. For the next 75 seconds is going to be with vision of that Baron. Very useful. But, I mean, is it getting to the point where Gamtee, I mean, they can just force and this is a team fight that they know that they can win?
Yeah, so they're at a point of the game now where they can actually just start up Baron probably at will and tank it with Janna's shield, and the other team has to respond to it because of how much damage Kog'Maw with that W, with the Blade of the Ruined King will do to that particular objective. So now Energy Pacemaker really need to be careful. They need to fight around Lee Sin's kick, try and isolate a single target, either Xiaohu or Tail, and start the fight up in an advantage. They can't fight head-to-head 5v5.
No, we'll see whether they actually find what they need to here, because it's looking like Energy Pacemaker starting to run out of options. They need sort of the dream engage where Tail gets eliminated very, very quickly, and they can make something happen. Let Me still being a nuisance here on the bottom side, but of course needs those minions to just hang around for a little bit so that puddle can do its work.
But he's nearly level 16 against a 13 Maokai. As soon as he gets that level 3 ultimate, team fighting becomes even easier for Gamtee. Of course, he'll fall off towards the late game, but we're still 10 minutes from there, and Gamtee are in firm control. So as long as we can keep building up farm on this Morgana, keep allowing her to split push into the Maokai, because now Maokai has no kill potential in that particular lane. Looks like it's just going to continue to scale up.
And Huey again has picked up that Locket of the Iron Solari here as well, answered by Drizzle in the form of that Aegis of the Legion. Hasn't quite managed to make that transform happen just yet. Have to think that it is going to be coming through relatively soon. It's almost a pseudo triple AP comp coming through from both of these teams with Maokai, Victor and Corki, as opposed to the Morgana, LeBlanc and the Kog'Maw as well. So interesting situation as far as the damage is concerned, but still important. Kane's going to find Huey here just a little bit. Phosphorus Bomb going to go wide, and Gamtee not going to be able to quite engage on this one. Let Me is going to head back and possibly pick up that Zhonya's Hourglass relatively quickly. Oh, Twisted Advance almost takes Amazing J to the enemy fountain, which wouldn't have been very good. And Zhonya's now complete for Let Me, and this is a big deal.
Yeah, it certainly is. He's got some penetration there in the form of the Abyssal, and looks like they want to start up the Baron, but still a little bit too squishy. Needs some health or armor onto their jungler Huey, so they're going to go back to pushing up this mid lane, and very patient play coming through from Gamtee. They know they've got the lead. They know they're strangling them out on Dragon. That will be up in about another 2.5 minutes, so no use risking the big objective like Baron and potentially throwing to a Chaos Storm, which just does so much work in the pit itself. Just allow Cog to keep farming up. He's ahead of the Maokai. We said this was kind of the Maokai versus Cog race. As soon as Kog'Maw got that triple kill, the race was over. Maokai is no longer in a position where he will get strong enough to be able to deal with the Kog'Maw. It really is up to Drizzle to get a great kick and allow Tail to be removed from the team fight before it even begins.
And in the meantime, Gamtee are going to again secure some vision around this Dragon. Up again in another 2 minutes. Raphael going to head back to base, look for another item purchase. We'll see when he decides to go for that perfect hex score. We've seen Victors in a few different schools of thought go for that item at different times. This time, Raphael going to be picking up that Abyssal Scepter, though. Yeah,
so going for the Abyssal Scepter, going for a little bit more, I guess, penetration coming through and being able to survive the human cannonball that is LeBlanc at this point in the game.
Yeah.
Dragon is up in 1.5 minutes, and good vision coverage from both teams. Does spot out the Scuttle Crab going down, and looks like they're preparing to set up for the 4th, and this is the all-important one for Energy Pacemaker, because the 4th Dragon puts more implied pressure than the 5th Dragon. Because as soon as you pick it up, you understand that you have to make a play in 6 minutes, Otherwise, it is very hard for you to win the game.
Yeah, and Energy Pacemaker just not with the control around that area that they want. They've got a couple of scattered wards. But with 6,000 gold in the lead, a massive Cogmore on their side as well, who's now got a Last Whisper at the same time. Things looking very, very scary. This is a 3-item Cogmore who just shreds the health of any tank that's going to come anywhere near him. Zhao, who's actually going to find Amazing J here. Soul Shackles to come through. Another flash blown from Amazing J. The Dark Binding going to come down, but doesn't quite find its mark. But every time that flash is up, immediately gets blown by a game.
Wow, the damage. That was 2 auto attacks out of Tail, chasing a whole team away.
Yeah, there's a Cataclysm to come through as well. Tail now trying to get some damage in the backside, but Huey going a little bit too far forward. Exhaust immediately onto Zhao. Nice Black Shield, going to stop Amazing J from locking down this Cogmore, who's trying to get some damage in this fight. Sync Dream in a lot of trouble. Let Me, though, he's going to take down Raphael on the backside. Zhao is going to collect Amazing J as he comes back through. And Tail now starting to rip through the members of Energy Pacemaker. Couple of shots on both of the bottom lane members, and they're dead. And this Cogmore, once he gets a chance to freely auto, that's what happens.
And that was the best the fight could have gone. No Soul Shackles coming through. They got the teleport on the backline, and Maokai was on top of the AD carry. But in the end, Cogmore was just so strong with the huge Black Shield from the top lane Morgana, keeping him safe from all of that CC, willing to freely hit anyone. He has got the Last Whisper, all the attack speed. He doesn't care who he's hitting at this point in the game. He will kill them, and he takes out the first base turret as well.
Yeah, no worries. Inhibitor not going to fall down. Gamtee not going to try and push their luck here at all, but they've got an opportunity to go for a Baron here. They're almost 10,000 gold in the lead over Energy Pacemaker. And this game looking very different to the last one.
Yeah, just a much better balanced team comp coming through out of Gamtee, and they're able to pick up their 4th dragon unless Drizzle can come up with a miracle.
Yep. Not going to happen this time, though, as Dark Binding did go wide. Black Shield here onto Huey, who has the Flag and Drag. He's going to be able to get out. And that Q not even going to be enough to break that Black Shield here as well. That Let Me has got a decent amount of AP to back up.
Yeah, he certainly does, and we see once again another 1,500 gold onto Cogmore. Probably will look at that Infinity Edge next item. I would love it if you went another Zeal just on top of it. Phantom Dancer is a fantastic item on Cogmore. Allows with the W to come through. Goes into the Infinity Edge very nicely, but we'll be picking that one up next. Doesn't really... This is the thing about Blade of the Ruined King. Blade of the Ruined King and Trinity Force are 2 fantastic items. But if you go for that as your attack speed option, you do sacrifice a little bit of crit damage coming through. It's one of the reasons that Last Whisper isn't maybe as necessary on Cogmore, or as is with Corki, because of all the mixed damage, the damage from the W. You can at times rely on your W to shred through the tanks and go for a more attack speed item build than you would normally.
Yeah, there was mathematics done, wasn't it? That the DPS is actually a little bit higher with a Phantom Dancer over a Last Whisper.
Yeah, so mathematically, the ideal build that comes out from Cogmore is a Trinity Force into Blade, into Phantom Dancer, into IE, if you're going to go those damage items. Of course, with a defensive item, you need a defensive item on an immobile carry like Cogmore. So, yeah, the mathematics behind it is the fact that, it's much higher damage output.
Yeah, not going to go for it this time, of course, and that's because he can't sort of freely sit there and auto-attack. He has to be orb walking and juggling the Maokai. Just needs to make sure that he can shred through that as best he can. And
there's also the fact that Last Whisper is a 2,300 gold item. Very cost-effective.
That is a very good point. Huey, though, now looking to try and get an engage. No inhibitor turret means that Energy Pacemaker under a lot of pressure at this stage. Gamtee, they decided not to pick up that one, but look at the 5-man Cataclysm here as well. The kick out immediately. Zhao lands the chains onto Amazing J. Tail just ripping through him. Shu going to be the next option here for this Cogmore as Raphael so incredibly low. Kane now just going to get torn apart from that Caustic Spittle. And this could actually be the game now for Gamtee.
Yeah, it certainly looks like it's going to be the case. And Sync Dream and Let Me, Game 1 to Game 2 performances are completely different. Let Me in that last team fight, another great Soul Shackles, and Sync Dream really has played much better. 3-0-10 this time around, and what a performance out of Gamtee.
Yeah, really beautifully played, and it wasn't a Juggermore comp, but it was more of just a protect the Cogmore, let him get huge again, picking up some more kills to pad the stats, and Xiaohu even looked good himself. It was just a great performance from Gamtee and a bounce-back performance.
Yeah, a much better performance coming through. Wasn't really the protect the Kog'Maw, as more as a, we have that many threats that you can't kill our Kog'Maw.
Yeah.
We have a Jarvan that's going to dive on top of you. All the CC from Morgana, not to mention the human cannonball, the way Xiaohu plays that mid lane LeBlanc, and in the end, Tail with that triple kill in the mid lane, with the quadra kill, sorry, was just never going to be stopped.
Yeah, no, and it was just looking fantastic for Gamtee throughout that entire game, and they kept the control. They didn't make these mistakes that they have been making, which is what happened yesterday. So looking a lot more solid, and we'll see whether they can carry it through and maybe pick up a spot in the playoffs, because going 1-for-1 like this is not quite enough.
Yeah, exactly right. At some point, they need to be able to break that curse, get the 2-0. Could have been today, but just wasn't to be.
Yeah, not going to happen this time. But ladies and gentlemen, we are halfway through the day. Still multiple games to come as EDG are going to take on IG right after this.